about 18 months ago, a trade war started between China and the USA. It was actually kind of kicked off by the US because the US feel that China steals a lot of intellectual property from them. They feel they have restricted access to the Chinese market, and they also feel that a lot of the things that China does, America don't like. Now, whether that's because America are threatened by China's rising power, there's lots of different excuses used by the states. I personally feel that it's unjustified by America, to be honest. Being here, I see the other side of it. But my sort of issue is, I'd like to know how Chinese people feel about what's going on between China and America at the moment. Huawei, which is the jewel in the crown of China, America have sort of passed some legislation to stop any American companies selling products and services to Huawei. Huawei are a company that have come from making pretty shitty mobile phones sort of 5 or 7 years ago to making some of the best phones in the world now. And I often wonder whether a lot of this trade war is not to do with trade at all. I just wonder whether it's to do with that America are getting super jealous about the rising power of China, and I just wonder how Chinese people see that and think about that.
To be honest, I just think Donald Trump is a that's all. Because he keeps eating his words. For last few months, sometimes I heard Donald Trump, he said, okay, I'm going to cancel all the tax for Chinese goods.
Yeah.
And then the next day he said, oh, we're going to put more tax on this good.
Yeah,
so I don't know what kind of person he is, and I don't know nothing about his personality. I just think he's not a trustful man to trust.
Yeah, I think he's very volatile, and as the leader of one of the largest economy in the world, I really do think he needs to get some better advisors around him, and I think it's a bit crazy the way he shouts off his mouth. I see China a much more grown up and diplomatic about things in this trade conflict than America are. I really do. I just don't know if it will come to an end, because I feel now China are waiting for the presidential elections in the US to see if there's now a new president elected that they can sort of deal with on a more grown up level. Some Chinese people I've spoken to seem to think that he's a bit childish in the way he's going about things, really.
I think so. I mean, he's in his 70s, so he should be more mature. And people, yes, like you said, we're waiting for the next election. And as far as I know, the trade war is really harmful for both of the country, especially for farmers. And my uncle,
America,
yeah.
Actually, farmers in America are really suffering, and I think it's quite funny now because
why are they suffering?
Well, because China have stopped buying all the crops from them. China were their biggest customer.
Yeah.
And because America have imposed all these import taxes on Chinese goods, it's very difficult for China to retaliate on a like-for-like basis. The reason why is America import maybe 5-10 times more goods from China than China import from America.
Right.
So America slap import duties on all the Chinese goods, but even if China put import duties on all the American goods, the imbalance is still massive. So China are looking to do sort of other more selective things. And something very interesting in the news yesterday was a big American tech company, Cisco, announced their results, and their results were pretty bad, and the CEO or the CFO put it down to that state enterprise in China have stopped ordering from us. So it's like And the Chinese government just about a week ago or 2 weeks ago, they told all the companies in China to stop buying agricultural products from America. So that's really going to hurt them, because a lot of Trump's voters are in those sort of farming heartlands. So I think China are playing a much more strategic game. I think America are kind of, or Trump is just shooting from the hip. One day he sees something happen, oh, we're going to do this. The next day, oh no, we're not going to do that, we're going to do this, you know. Now, but I think China are being much more sensible and grown up about it and looking at it very strategically. Many times China have said, look, you know, we're prepared to negotiate on proper terms, but, you know, don't expect us to stop our development of technology and to do this, that and the other just because you don't like it, kind of thing, you know. At the end of the day, China is a sovereign nation. I really don't think it's the place of America to tell China, oh, you can't develop technology. You know, just because some Chinese technology companies are actually sort of getting at, you know, level or even ahead of America in some areas, I don't think that's a reason to stop them doing it. It seems America are kind of a bit jealous, really. Bringing it down to like a people's level as well, it's kind of funny to see the difference between, I've been told, and if I remember rightly, the demand for Apple products, which is obviously an American company, like maybe 5 years ago, was just huge. Like people would do anything to get the newest iPhones, and people would sell blood to get iPhones and stuff. Whereas now it's changed to it's kind of a little bit embarrassing to own something that's supporting America after this trade war. And people will buy the Chinese phones like Huawei, Vivo. But actually, they're better, a lot of them now. As well as that, but people like to show off that they're supporting, you know, their own countries. I spoke to a girl the other day, and she got an Apple phone, and she was quite embarrassed to tell me she got an Apple phone, where 5 years ago she'd be like waving it, look, I've got an Apple phone, I've got an Apple phone. And it's really quite funny, because 5 years ago I was using Chinese branded handsets. I've had Xiaomi, I've had OnePlus, I've not had a Huawei phone. But like, I was almost like sniggered at by Chinese people. Oh, why have you got a Chinese phone? You know, I've got an Apple. But now it's actually totally changed. And I think Apple are in for a massive shock over the next 2 years, because I know a lot of Chinese people who, when they come to renew their phone, they won't be buying Apple again. They will support Huawei. You know, or other Chinese, Vivo, Oppo, you know, OnePlus, Xiaomi. Yeah, like you said, 5 years ago, most of my friends, we feel proud of ourselves to have iPhone. It's like a status symbol, right? It's like a status symbol. But now, if you use iPhone, people will feel nothing about that. It's just a phone. But if you use Huawei, people will think, well, hey, this guy, you support your country. So it's a really good thing. I think we should learn from you. I think that's great. I mean, I've even read some reports where there's some big companies, they're even offering their employees money if they ditch their Apple phone to get a Huawei phone. They go, oh, we'll give you like 1,500 renminbi to ditch your Apple and take on a Huawei phone. That's how patriotic. And I actually kind of admire that. I think that you should stick up for your own country. Yeah, actually, I was about to say, I think that's a lot more prominent here than it would be in any Western culture, in any Western country. I'm sure if there was some like UK brands going down a bit, people wouldn't, you know, support those brands more. I don't think it would be as much the case. Interesting though, some of the tech companies now are actually lobbying the US government because they think the ban's a bit stupid, because they want to sell. Because, you know, I think Huawei spend billions of dollars with American companies every year. So ultimately, by Trump, what he's doing, he's actually probably hurting the American companies more than the Chinese, and the reason that is, you know, China is a massive internal market. So in the last results that Huawei, you know, the last sales data, their sales had slid in Europe because of what Trump did. They actually don't sell a lot in the US, but the slack was more than picked up by the uptick they've had in the Chinese market by people.
Right, yeah.
We're patriotic, we're going to support Huawei. So they've actually not lost out at all. They've just sold more in their home territory than they, although the sales have dropped a bit abroad, they've picked up here.
And there is another reason that we love Huawei now. It's because when Donald Trump, he declared that, okay, we're gonna ban Huawei in the US, and the CEO of Huawei, you know what he said? He said, okay, now we're not telling people that, oh, okay, buy Huawei to show that you love your country. We don't need this. Although now we're facing some difficulties, but we don't try to persuade people to buy Huawei and to use the slogan, you love your country. We don't want to sell our phones in this way. So I think there is another reason why people, they prefer Huawei now, because the image of Huawei is different, is pretty high. And
sure, I mean they some of their products are pretty amazing actually. I actually also think it's Ren Zhengfei, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
that's him.
He's been very mature about the situation. He hasn't once slagged off Apple or anybody. He hasn't once said anything bad about any American companies or anything. He's been really kind of mature about the situation, and it just shows you how childish Trump and maybe some of the other American administration is, when they're like, they keep accusing Huawei of all sorts of things, and actually they have no evidence to support a majority of these accusations they make, and yet Huawei and any Huawei staff have never done the same back to any American companies or anything, and actually there's a lot of evidence for wrongdoing that some of these American companies have done.
Right, okay, we should wrap it up there.
Yeah, cool.